So what have you been up to lately?
Ooh, not lately, not a whole lot, really. I mean, the band's been was super busy or in the fall and winter, and then we did, I think, our last show in Chicago, I think December 21st. And then we were supposed to go and hit the West Coast in January, but that tour got canceled for a couple reasons. One, COVID is an issue; it's affecting everything, and then also the other band, Bucko Nine, they were touring with, their singer had a heart attack, so that kind of put the final nail in that coffin. So yeah, we're just kind of like hanging out until March when we start playing shows. But we've kind of taken the last few weeks off practicing just because like COVID and stuff. But we're supposed to, if the weather's okay, we'll probably practice this Wednesday. So, we're just kind of getting together and working on new songs and stuff. So hopefully we'll start practicing regularly again.
So are your kids doing like homeschooling or like for the Zoom things or?
No, they're in school. They go to school. Like, I don't know. It's crazy. Like this past week wasn't that bad, but the week before that, we were getting emails from school every day saying like 8 kids came down with COVID or whatever. But I don't know. So it's kind of calmed down a little bit, but they're going to school full time. And so far, I don't think anyone's caught COVID, but
That's good.
in our family at least. So yeah.
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, hopefully, knock on wood.
So what do they think about Dad being in a band?
What's that?
What do your kids think about you being in a band?
I think they think it's cool. I mean, neither of them are like huge ska fans or anything like that, but I mean, they definitely think it's cool. And they've been to concerts, and yeah, that's pretty awesome. But it's like it's frustrating because the last couple of years we haven't played much. And in Grand Rapids, we don't do that many all ages shows. We do a few of them, but they haven't had too many opportunities to see me like recently. So, but when they go, I mean, they have fun. I think it's pretty cool.
How old are they?
So the two I have at home are 14 and 17. So they're just kind of getting at that age where they're like whatever. But I mean, they're not as into music as I was, definitely. So, but I mean, they think it's cool. I have another daughter who's almost 21. She's off in college. She thinks it's cool. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny, like, because in college, like my older daughters run into, like friends that are fans and stuff like that. And she runs into Mustard Blood fans. But like my younger kids, like in the high school, there's just like, there aren't really kids that are into like punk or ska music at their high school, really. So it's not like, they think it's weird when they go out like outside of their little school world and run into people wearing Mustard Blood t-shirts or whatever. It kind of blows their mind. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, they still think I'm lame, like all kids. They still think I'm like the most annoying person in the world, just like every other kid thinks of their parents. But I think it's cool. I'm in a band at least.
Yeah. So how would you describe Mustard Plug to someone who doesn't really know that much about music?
Yeah, I usually say it's like, if they don't have a clue, I'll just say, well, it's like rock with horns, but it's like Jamaican influenced. And like for people that have no clue what ska is, hopefully they know what reggae is. But yeah, that's kind of like, you'll run into someone like at a gas station or something like, hey, what's Mustard Blog? And it'll be like, it's a rock band with horns. That's the easiest way. It's very high energy. It's danceable. Yeah, that's kind of how I describe it.
Does that happen often? You run into people at the gas station?
Yeah, or just weird random places. It happens to me a lot, like just like in my regular job. Like I've like my day gig is like I'm a realtor. And so yeah, I'm always like, meeting people. Then like eventually they find out I'm in a band, and then I have to explain to them, what it is. And they just kind of look at me. They get like, I see a lot of blank stares like, huh? Like, yeah, I say, yeah, I've been in a band for 30 years. And they're like, really? What type of music play? I'm like, it's kind of like rock with horns. And, oh, where do you play? That's the best question. Cause then it's like, North America, Europe occasionally. We've been to Brazil once, been to Japan 3 times. And then they just stare at you like, they don't know if you're completely bullshitting them or not, you know? And then at that point, they just have this glare, like glare on their, just like their eyes just kind of get blurry, and then they change the subject. I don't know. It's kind of hilarious.
I'm sure some people like it too. But I saw you have played some shows during like COVID. Like how did they go?
They went great. Yeah. So like, it was awesome. Like, you know, it's like surfing. You catch the waves, or when there's not a wave. But yeah. So we played our first show back in August, in Grand Rapids, and that was awesome. You know, it was like our first show in like 16 months, and I can't remember ever being that nervous for a show after going, because I've never gone that long without playing a show, really, since like our first show, you know. So but yeah, that was really good. And then we had a bunch of shows like right after that. We had the Supernova Ska Festival, which was awesome. And we did one in Orange County called the Bruce Ska Festival. And I'm trying to think, we had the Fest in Gainesville, which is a big punk rock festival, which is awesome. And like all three of those were like just amazing. Everyone was like really like good vibes and stuff, and super happy to be there. And I mean, there's like a weird little, like, there's still like every show, I think there's a weird little bit of nervousness on the part of like everyone's like, oh, I hope I don't catch COVID or whatever, this or that. But still, I mean, there's still like, I mean, that's countered with like the sense of joy that people have to actually be going to shows again. So yeah, I think we did 12 shows in 2021. And yeah, they were just all fantastic. It was fun.
Well, I saw on Instagram you're recording new music. Like, what's that like during the pandemic?
So we haven't really recorded much, like as far as like actual stuff we're releasing. It's more like we're recording demos right now. That's mainly what we're doing. We recorded one song for the Ska Against Racism tour that we released, and that we did most of it. So the way we're recording like these demos and stuff, we recorded that kind of demo style where most of the people are doing it at home by themselves with a computer and a microphone, that sort of thing. And that one, then we went into the studio and re-recorded the vocals and the horns just to get better sounds and mixed it somewhere else. So most of it was done remotely though. And so what we're doing now is we're just recording demos, and we've gotten a lot better at that. We use this thing called Splice that allows everyone to record their own separate parts individually in their houses or whatever, and then it kind of gets mixed online. And so it's really a cool way to collaborate remotely. And I mean, I'm like not that good at using it. I can record my vocals and stuff. And I just use my regular SM58 stage microphone, the mic I use on stage, which is a good mic. It's just not like, it's not studio quality, but it's pretty good. But yeah, it's a weird experience, just like being by yourself. Like I'm in my basement and I have like my earbuds in and just have my microphone hooked up to like this, my MacBook Air all by myself. And so that's kind of weird. But it's not, in certain ways, I like it. I'm not a big fan of going into the studio either, because like the studio just feels like more like high pressure. Just doing it on your own, there's not that much pressure at all. You're just, by yourself. But conversely, it's like sometimes this pressure of the studio forces you to do better, and you have someone there with you saying like, I think you can do that better. I think, you're a little high, a little sharp on that one. That note was a little off. Your time was off on this. So I kind of like to actually record a full album. When we're ready to do that, we'll definitely go into a real studio and have like an engineer and maybe a producer there that can say like, hey, let's try this on this take. Let's do that, redo that, whatever. Like, well, that was actually really good. You should keep that. So it is nice, like when you're doing, at least for me, to have another set of ears, another brain in there, like kind of helping you with it. Especially if it's the right person,
I like the picture. I think it was kind of like,
Oh yeah,
I like the picture where it was like, this is the studio.
yeah, it's fun. Well, it's just so crazy to me that like you record that way, because it's like when we started the band, it was like a whole different world, like cassettes and tape, and there's what, like, digital recording didn't exist when we started. And you had to go to it was either like recordings were really, really shitty, like you're recording on a cassette boom box and it sounded terrible, but like you'd do demos that way maybe. Or you'd have to go into at least some sort of studio, and even like a basic studio was super expensive back then, because like any sort of multi-track recorder was super expensive, and like even tape, like is super expensive, and you get in like 24 track tapes, so it's just so mind-blowing to me that I can like plug my SM58 mic into my my MacBook and record it in my basement between like paint cans in my freezer, and it sounds like really good overall, probably better than our first release.
Yeah. I guess can you kind of talk about the songwriting process? And I was wondering, like, I like this song, like, how did the song Real Rap Bastard come about?
Oh yeah. Well, I'm trying to remember. So that was a few years ago, but if I remember right, Rick Johnson, our bass player, came up with basically the bass line and to it, and he may have had some like other parts, but what I remember is it's definitely based around what he wrote musically.
Yeah.
And it just had a really cool feel to it, kind of different. It reminded me a little bit of like I can't remember the band, was it one of those 60s bands with the Turtles or something? Like there's that So Happy Together, that song. Yeah. And it kind of had that bouncy, and like when I think of that song, it's like, I'm so glad to be you with all my love. It's like a super like lightweight, happy song. And so like lyrically, I kind of flipped it on its head. So it's like this is about like someone who is not happy. This is like clearly a miserable bastard that's writing that perspective. And so I thought it was kind of fun to flip that and have like super happy bouncy music with these kind of like darker lyrics. And it's it's obviously like there's definitely an element of comedy to that song. And that song in black, that album in black and white, was like definitely one of the more serious, but it's nice to throw something a little campy in there too, to break up the palette.
Yeah, I like that song because it's funny, and then like it gets kind of extreme too. It's like, I'd even slap the Pope to see your face.
Yeah. Like, exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of fun. I mean, we've always done that with a lot of our songs, and like because ska is it's so happy and upbeat, and it's kind of fun to like pair that with some really dark lyrics or subject matter. And whether and not that we invented that idea, but I think it's a really effective, fun thing to do with ska, especially.
I took it more of like as like a joke song, like someone that like doesn't like you or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm just so bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like more of a joke song. I mean, it definitely like has like it's a humorous song. I mean, that's kind of like, so it's kind of fun. I mean, I think there there's a certain element of truth in that. Like I think most people, I know myself, sometimes feel like I'm just a miserable bastard that like I'm married. I've been married for like 20 years now, and sometimes I'm like, God, why does my wife put up with me? You know what I mean? I think everyone kind of feels that way at some point, but you just have to get over it, and and so I think there's a kernel of truth in it, but it's by and large just like a fun, happy, comedic song. Yeah.
So like when you write like the lyrics wise, do you have like something already in mind, or you just randomly like be like, well, I'm thinking of this today? Like, do you have it like planned? Sometimes
I have like some like ideas for songs, beforehand, and sometimes, when I hear the music, it just kind of inspires me to write something, or it could be something that just happened that second or at last day. That song specifically, I don't know, but it's all over the map. Sometimes the music will really, I'll hear it and like, it sounds like this, and it just kind of inspires me to write something,
So what's something people will be surprised to know about you?
Wow. It's hard to say. I mean, I guess, if you'd only seen me live, you'd probably be surprised that I'm like a functional adult. I mean, if you only saw me live, you're like, he's on stage. He's like had a million beers and he's going crazy. I think like I have a relatively good like balance in terms of like my rock and roll life and my normal boring life. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm trying to think of what else, but that's probably the main thing.
Yeah. Do you have any like hobbies or like collect anything?
I'm trying to think. When I was a kid, I used to be a huge collector of everything. Like I collected like stamps and beer cans and Star Wars cards and rocks and coins and like just like I think yeah, like I was way into collecting all sorts of stuff. Um but like yeah, I don't really collect much anymore. I think that like because I did it so much as a kid and you realize like that collections are become like worthless over time, like pretty much everything. Like they go in trends. Like back when I was a kid, like stamps and beer cans were like really collectible and worth a lot of money, right? Now they're worth nothing, like zero. There's like zero market, right? So if you have a stamp collection, you're lucky to get like the face value for it. Like, so if you have a 12-cent stamp, it's not worth 12 cents. Like, because no one wants a 12-cent stamp. It's worthless. So, I think I realized that at a certain point, like, and I do have a record collection, and but like the vast majority of my records I bought like back when that was just what you bought. You know what I mean? Now people buy, vinyl, and they're like, I have 12 shades, 12 different pressings of this, and they're just collecting it just to own it as a thing, right? And that's just like a little weird to me in a way, because it's like, but you could have 12 different records, you know what I mean? And like, there's like the purple doesn't have any inherent value more than the yellow and what. So I've kind of like gotten out of the whole collector thing, and it takes up space or whatever. I'm trying to think. I mean, I get it. I understand. And I'm like, I've like, books, I have records. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's one of those things where like I was such an obsessive collector when I was young that I've kind of like gotten out of it in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like hobbies go, I mean, I really like the outdoors. I like fishing. I like hiking. I like snorkeling, stuff like that. Anything that can get me outdoors really and explore the world. I like traveling a lot. I like eating. I like going to different restaurants, like cooking, stuff like that.
Yeah, I think I heard you on Leonore's thing, and you were talking about how you had a garden.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I used to be way into gardening. I used to have like one year I counted, I had like 90 tomato plants. I'm like, it's nuts. Now I have like 13 because I just have in my backyard now. I don't have a plot. And so I mean, I got into that for a while. I still do it a little bit. I used to like have like 90 plants, and I used to like preserve like my own salsa and Bloody Mary mix and can them and stuff. And yeah, it's fun. And maybe someday when I retire, I'll do it again like that intensely. But right now I just don't have the time.
Yeah. So you do like, are you like a realtor like for full time too, or?
Yep. Yeah. So I mean that's the thing. It's like because it's in Michigan, being a realtor is really, really seasonal. And so typically really busy in the spring and fall. And just like especially like spring, and spring's when you have to put the most time into a garden. You have to go and you have to whatever, plow your fields and sow your seeds and all that stuff and stake your tomatoes. That it's just like that was the time it's like didn't have enough time. And plus, and the band takes up a huge chunk of my time as well. So I mean there's just like so much stuff, like not enough time, especially like certain times of the year. It's like this time of year, because I'm in Michigan, it's like January. Okay, tour got canceled, real estate's slow, it's too cold to go outside. It's like, what the hell do I do with myself? You know what I mean? But yeah.
Your interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess back to music. How'd you first develop your love for music?
I think when I first really started getting into music is it's probably like in sixth grade. I started like the first band I was really into was the Beatles. And so like, just kind of collected all the Beatles LPs. and was just really into them. And then from there, kind of got into like other like kind of classic rock stuff like The Who and whatever. And then like back then there was like radio stations, like there was a format, I don't think it doesn't exist anymore, called album oriented rock, whereas just like it's kind of what we think of classic rock, but like back then that music was new. So like you'd have like a radio station would play like The Who's new record and The Clash and like David Bowie and so you'd get like they'd play like a lot of like lame shit like Jethro Tull and whatever, but they'd also play like The Clash and Talking Heads and these would be like huge mainstream, the biggest station in town would play that stuff. So it was kind of an avenue before the internet, to find like The Clash and and I remember Devo. Like I was really when I first heard Devo in like 6th grade, like wow, this is the coolest thing ever, And but you had to really look for it, and typically the radio station, like that's how you heard about new music. There wasn't any other way until like then like probably late middle school, early high school, MTV came out, and then the first wave of MTV videos were all like English stuff because American bands hadn't made videos. And so immediately, like, that's when I first saw like Madness and the English beat, and it's like, I didn't know what it was, but I thought it was amazing. It was great. And then at that point, got into punk rock and started to see like local punk rock shows and stuff like that. And that was like 1986, 87. And then like, once I discovered punk rock, it's more than just music, it's a whole lifestyle and that sort of thing. And got into that. And then the world just kind of exploded. And from there, got into like all sorts of, because once you get into that, then it's like you find all these other avenues besides radio and MTV. Then you talk to friends, you trade tapes, whatever, you find like there was a college radio station that started up that had all sorts of crazy music on. And from there, so then, I just was brought into everything, like punk and ska and industrial and reggae and just all sorts of, different alternative music. And so, yeah, that was then in college, just got into it more and more. And I worked at my college radio station. I was music director there and had a fanzine and, started promoting like concerts, like little shows, concerts. And then, started the band after I graduated in 1991. And the rest is history.
I was like, get into that some more. And it's like, well, I was wondering, oh yeah, so do you think Muster Plug would still be going this long?
No way. I didn't think, it was just something fun to do. It was just like, let's get some friends together and see if we can do anything, see if it makes some noise and whatever. Like that wasn't the plan at all. I remember thinking like, wow, the Toaster's been in it for 10 years. That's crazy, And here I am 30 years into it. It's weird, but yeah, it's cool.
Well, yeah, I know. It's like been like over half my life. I've been like listening to it and I'm like, wow, I'm glad everyone's still around. But I was thinking too, like, what's the retirement age for the ska bands?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I hope they all keep going. But yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Like you said too, in like another interview, you're talking about how you're a music director at, was it your college radio station? Like, what did you do as a music director? And like, how did that work back then?
So yeah, back then it's interesting. So different college radio stations are really different, right? And I went to Michigan State University, which is a huge Big Ten, school, 40,000 kids in it. And it's in Lansing, Michigan, which has like 100,000 people there, right? Or whatever, 150,000, I'm not sure, maybe more. But the thing is, like, a lot of college radio stations only broadcast like to the campus or this dorm room or whatever. Our radio station broadcasts throughout the entire Lansing metropolitan area, right? So we had this crazy powerful station that competed with commercial stations. Like it was that big, you know what I mean? So it was, not Lansing's like the biggest market in the world, but it was a real market. So the radio station was one of the most significant college radio stations at the time, right? And college radio was really, really important back then to record labels in general, because that's how a lot of these bands broke. That's how they got, famous and whatever. And back then, like college radio, like got credit for like making REM who they were. You know what I mean? Like they from a no-name band in Athens to like the huge whatever. That, I mean, they were like the kind of like the flag bearer of college radio bands at the time. You know what I mean? And they were kind of like a medium-sized indie label, IRS Records, I think had major label distribution or whatever. But so as music director, my job was I was the person, the sort of representative of the station between the station and the record labels, right? And then I would help, along with the program director, pick the playlist of what actually got played and what got added to the library, you know? So, I mean, the DJs had like a certain amount of choice of what they could play, but they had to play like half of the stuff is in rotation, right? Whatever the 60 songs or 80 songs or whatever, they pick from that, the other, they could just pick whatever. So from a label perspective, like I was kind of an important dude in that, like I'm kind of the gatekeeper about what gets actually played on the radio, right? To a certain degree. So it was kind of fun. I mean, it was like Christmas every day because like you'd get like I'd walk into I had an office, actually had an office, and like I get like 30 packages sent to me from different record labels in like vinyl. It's like that point where it's like both vinyl and CDs being sent out. And so like every day, like every record label would send me everything they released. It's just mind blowing, you know? And then like they would call me all the time saying like, are you playing this band? Did you add them this week? And then you'd like, whatever you played on the station, we'd have to like report that to different charts. There's like College Music Journal, CMJ was the big chart. And so people like the labels wanted you to chart their records and all that crap, right? But so it was like a really interesting job. I mean, it's because like it was like kind of a real thing. You know what I mean? And it exposed it. I learned a lot about the record industry at that point, and I learned about you know, I went to like different like South by Southwest type events, and I at that point I wanted to go into the music industry. I wanted to like start a record label when I graduated college or whatever. But so yeah, I mean, it was a real kind of important thing in my whole musical career or whatever.
Yeah, that's cool. I did that too in college, but ours was only like you could only hear it on campus and like in the parking garage if you're lucky.
Yeah. So I mean, that's probably most college radio stations are like that, and with that you have a lot more freedom or whatever. But it's like I don't know. I mean, I wonder like those kind of stations probably have to beg for records. You know, I don't know. You know, that sort of thing. But
we had some, but I usually just did my own. But that's cool. That's really cool that yours was that like big.
Yeah, it was insane. It was seriously, it was like Christmas, and that's actually how I met Bucket. Because Bucket owned Moon Records and I love ska. And I'm just like, I wrote to Bucket or called Bucket or whatever. And I was just like, hey, can we get your releases at our radio station? You know, I can't promise anything, but I pretty much can promise we'll play them, even though I can't, but I will, you know? And so that's how I started meeting Bucket. And I went to, I think it was the CMJ Music Festival in New York City. And he's like, yeah, come on down to the warehouse. I'll hook you up. So I'm like, sweet. So there I am. So like 19-year-old kid, walk around Manhattan by myself. And I find this like Lower East Side or whatever where he lived. And I get the address, you know, I find it my first time in New York and wander around myself. And, you know, I knock on the door. He's like, you know, he buzzes me in and I'm expecting like, you know, the Moon Records world headquarters. And it's like his apartment, right? It's totally his apartment. And he has like this bookcase, you know, on a wall. It's like a 10 by 10 bookcase or something like that, just with records, and like, that's the warehouse. And then it's like, he's just hanging out there. I remember his wife was there and it was just like, huh? It was so awesome though. I mean,
that's pretty cool though. Be like,
yeah. And that's like Bucket. I mean, we're buddies to this day. I love the dude, but it was just so awesome. Yeah.
So you're talking about your zine, when you interviewed bands, like how did that come about? And do you have any like interesting stories from like interviewing?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It was cool. So like, you know, fanzines used to be a much bigger thing before the web. You know, I mean, that's the thing about the web's great because you can access instant information to anything right now, but it also crushed a lot of other cool stuff too. And one is fanzines. Like, I don't think anyone really does fanzines. I mean, podcasts are kind of like the version of that right now, which is pretty cool. it's almost like a revival, because like a podcast is almost like a fanzine in that sort of way. But yeah, it's like, I used to like take 11 by 17 photocopies and fold them over so that I'd have like, that was my fanzine. And I put out like three different issues. And I'm trying to think, I interviewed Ian MacKay once. That was pretty cool. Ranking Roger once. One of the dudes from the Busters. I think I may have interviewed the New York Citizens. Mike Watt was another one. So it was all kind of like, punk and ska people, but it's cool because you get to meet them. Yeah. And, kind of doing what you're doing right now, so it's a really cool experience. I mean, the fact that I get to like, hang out with Ian MacKay for 45 minutes and ask him questions, that was like so cool. Yeah. And but it's a tremendous amount of work. I mean, the interviews are easy and fun, right? I mean, as long as you come prepared with some questions, it's easy and fun. But just when I had to like, so I record on a cassette thing, and then I'd have to go back and play this and like type it up, transcribe it, like on a typewriter, and then cut out the piece of paper that I cut, and then lay it out on a piece of paper with tape, and then photocopy like whatever 100 copies of it, and then take them to like different record stores and like beg the dude to like sell them at the record store. It was just so much work. It's insane. So that's why I only did 3 issues, and it's tough to get. You had to get advertising to try to support it, and it was just really, really challenging. It was rewarding, but it was like way too much work too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you also want to start, you said you started a record label too?
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it was called the Shiki Clout Records, right? And first it was a partnership with this guy, Herm Baker, who ran a local record store that I worked at. And we put out a 7-inch by this band called Soiled Betty, just like the stupidest name ever. But they were like Grand Rapids' first grunge band, right? And this was 91, like the height of grunge, and like, yeah. And they were actually pretty cool from the standpoint there was like original music and like kind of like it was relatively cutting edge for Grand Rapids. We put it out, and like, of course, like 6 months later, the band breaks up. Like, that's just this freaking story of my life. That's like every failed indie record label story is they invest all this money into a band, and then the band breaks up 6 weeks. And that's, that wasn't a great experience. And so Herm decided to do his own label, and I decided to do mine. Well, we're friends and everything, but he just decided he wanted to do more like indie rock type stuff. I want to do more like punk and ska. And so my label, the Shiki Clout, I put out like, the first song, I put out a Mustard Plug Beer Song 7-inch. I put out this punk band called Whatnot, who are from Georgia. They were like pop punk, but then of course, they break up like a week after I released the freaking record. And I'm trying to think, I put out a Telegraph 7-inch, it was a ska band from Detroit, but of course they broke up right after I released the 7-inch. And I'm trying to think what else. The Articles, who are like a jazz ska type band from Detroit, who have since broken up, put out their 7-inch. And I'm trying to think what else. I put out a 10-inch. So this is the course of like 25 years, because I'd go in periods where I'd put some stuff out, then I'd get frustrated because all my bands would break up and I'd lose all this money. Then I'd be like, oh, I still want to do it, and then do something else, and then same thing happens. You know what I mean? But the last one I put out, I think, was besides Mustard Plug stuff, is like a 10-inch with the Pinstripes on one side and Green Room Rockers on the other side, that was a really cool project as well. But Pinstripes, of course, broke up, and Green Room Rockers are still sort of around, but they only play like 1 or 2 shows a year, I think. But yeah, it's just I still like think about like, man, I'd love to own a record label still, but it's just it's so hard, I mean, and right now is like the best time to own a record label that it's been in like 30 years, because people are buying tons of vinyl right now, and people are streaming. So there's actually, it's way easier to be a record label now than it ever has been. But it's like, it's so much work, and it's such a crapshoot, because, you put all this work into something, and the band breaks up and you're screwed. So the joys of being a record label.
I guess kind of going back, because it's like, so you did the college music and you had your zine and everything, and like that was before you we started a band. So like, what it finally made you decide it's time to start a band?
Well, like, so I was, there was this burgeoning ska scene in, Michigan and, United States for that matter. This is like probably 1989, 1990. And, but nothing in Grand Rapids where I'm from. But I kept running into Colin at ska shows, and we were both graduating from college at the same time and moving back to Grand Rapids. So I'm just like, Colin, we should start a ska band when we move back. And he's like, yeah, we should do that. And so we actually did it. And we were, so it was the summer of 91. And, I got a drummer, Mike McKendrick, involved right from the start. And then we got just like whoever friends, like most people were from like the punk scene that we knew from the punk scene, or, then we would pull horn players from all over the place. And we, that first year or two, we just went through so many members, like it's a revolving door of like people who like realized they didn't want to do it, or realized that they really didn't remember how to play their horn or whatever, but it was just like, we didn't care. It's just like, let's get like this crazy motley group of people together and go play a show somewhere in a basement or whatever. And it's just going to be fun. But gradually, it was just one step at a time. We're like, first we wrote 3 songs, and we played a party. Then we played an open mic night. Then we actually played open for another show, when we had like 8 songs, we opened a show for another band. And, you just kind of take it one step at a time. And gradually, within 2 years, I'd say we had a really good fan base in Grand Rapids. We put out a cassette, and that like solidified our fan base, where we're drawing 200 people or whatever. And then it's like, whoa, this is cool. This is something that, we can actually kind of take a little serious. And just over time, it became like the main thing I was doing,
That's cool. Did you know Colin like before the shows, or how did you know him?
Before the band? Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew him because I knew his girlfriend in high school. And so he went to a different school or whatever. So I kind of more knew of him than really knew him. Like I didn't really hang out with him until the band, but I knew who he was,
Yeah.
So I knew it, and then I knew he was into ska, and he was like the only other guy that was really into ska in Grand Rapids. So of like our generation, at least.
That's cool. Yeah. So what was his major and what was your major? I was just wondering.
His was psychology, I think.
Okay.
Social work, psychology, something like that. And mine was audio and video production.
Okay. Cool.
Of communications degree. Yeah.
So like, do you play any instruments?
Nope. Yeah. Never got around to it. I always wanted to like learn how to play guitar. I don't know. Fundamental laziness or something, but I just never got around to it.
So you didn't ever like try anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, I tried to play guitar a little bit, but then I just like didn't really put the effort into it, that I would need to.
Yeah. So, that's kind of how I am. I want to try stuff, but I'm like, I don't know if I'm really good at any of it, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like anything, it's just practice, but you just really have to be willing to put the time in,
Yeah. Do you think it's different, like for frontmen that like play guitar versus not? Like, do you need more stage presence or anything? Do you do anything differently?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you aren't playing an instrument, I think you do have more stage presence usually. You know what I mean? I think it's people focus on you more, and then you focus less on playing the guitar, right? Because I mean, if you're playing the guitar and singing, that's a lot. You know what I mean? Your dance moves are going to suffer. Let's put it that way. So yeah, I think like I've always liked like frontmen that are just frontmen better, because they're just moving around more, interacting with the crowd more. Yeah. So that's kind of what I like, and I think it makes a big difference. Even like I was thinking about like Catbite. Catbite's probably one of my favorite new ska bands, right? And we're singer Brittany. Sometimes she plays keys, and sometimes they bring a keyboard player in, and then she can just be the front woman, right? Yeah. And I mean, I think they probably realize this, but I definitely think that like they're way better when she's just by herself, not playing keyboards, and she's just like dancing around stage and doing whatever. I think it's just way cooler. So yeah. I mean, that's the other reason why I never felt that much pressure to play guitar, because I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to do it on stage anyways. It would have helped me a lot with songwriting. That's one of my big questions or regrets, because I think it would have helped tons and like made it way easier for me to write songs. But besides that, it's like, as far as like performance wise, I think it'd be more of a hindrance.
Yeah. That's cool. I never thought about that really. I don't know why. Recently, I was thinking about it, and I was like, the people that are more animated, I think, are like the ones that don't have any that are instruments and are just like singing, and they like jump in the crowd more and like
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
stuff.
totally. Yeah.
So, in the song "Grow Up," it's like how you don't want to be like everyone else when you grow up. I was just wondering, what did you want to be when you grow up?
Like when I wrote the song, or like when I was young?
Like when, like well, either one doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote the song, I mean, I either wanted. I mean, when I was in like college and post college, I mean, my goal is either in college, I wanted to go into filmmaking, but got sidetracked, and after that, then I switched over to like wanted to own a record label. So that was kind of my later thing. And I know when I was a kid, I don't know what I wanted to be. I don't think I just didn't have a clue. I didn't think I'd ever be employed or something.
Yeah. It's like, what do you want to be now?
Yeah, seriously, I want to be retired.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I wish, it's one of those things. It's like it'd be nice to be able to like do the band full time, but and we used to. I mean, there was a long time, like in the '90s, where that's all we did. We didn't really have jobs. We just did the band, and that was really cool. But basically, right around like 2000 ish, 2001, 2002. I mean, the whole popularity of ska fell down quite a bit, and then I got married and had kids. So then, like my living expenses shot up, So since then we've all kind of had like at least part-time jobs or full-time jobs or whatever. But I mean, it'd be nice to do nothing but music, but that's not realistic, anyways. So
you said the scene around the time when you started Mustard Plug was taking music too seriously, and you wanted to play like fun music. So how did being a goofiest ska band go over primarily in a serious grunge scene?
Oh yeah, it was hilarious. It was fun because there's a lot of people immediately were like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. Like all these other bands are taking themselves way too seriously. And these guys just are like, don't give a shit. They just want to have fun, And so people really responded to that in a big way. But there was other people that were just like hated us, you know what I mean? In our because Grand Rapids, the music scene is really small and tight. Like there was a lot of bands and a lot of fans, but everyone kind of knew each other too. So and most people, to a lot of the serious bands and serious musicians and serious whatever, there was an element of them that like hated us because like we were out drawing these other bands that like took themselves seriously and probably played way better than we did, and everything had been doing it longer, and all of a sudden they're still drawing 20 people and we're drawing 200 people. So there's those people that like Mustard Plug, they suck, they're a fucking joke, man, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? But those people were like lame anyway, so it was cool.
What's your biggest like proudest accomplishment like in Mustard Plug and then like outside of Mustard Plug?
I guess like I'm Mustard Plug. I mean, a couple of things. I guess I'm really proud of like that for 30 years we've never stopped. Like we've always toured. Like we never stopped playing. We never stopped playing ska. We never like went on hiatus because we weren't making money. We never stopped playing ska and did rock with horns. None of that bullshit. Like we just kept on doing Mustard Plug, right? So I'm really proud of that. And our music, I'm proud of our music too. Like some records I'm more proud of than others. And some songs I'm more proud of than others. But I think we have a body of work that I overall like our best songs I'm definitely proud of. So that's what I guess I'm most proud of as far as the band goes. Personally, I mean, whatever cliches, like my wife and kids, I've been married for 20 years. I'm proud of that. My kids are good people. I'm proud of that. So yeah, just the normal stuff.
Yeah. Like you said too, like when I was younger, I was kind of harsh. Like some of the bands that like changed their sound or whatever, There's a few
Yeah.
where like they put out CD and I was like, no. And I got mad because they changed it and I got rid of it or whatever. But I had the rest of them. I got rid of CD. I was gonna say Mustard Plug was one of the ones that I kept all of them because I was like, yay, they
Oh, cool. Thanks.
can do like
Yeah.
that thing.
Yeah. And I'm never really against like, bands evolve and change. I get that. But some of them were just like, it just felt like they were jumping from one trend to another.
Yeah.
And that's where it bums out. And so I'm jump back, I don't know. But
Yeah. I still
yeah.
liked them. I just didn't like that CD.
What's that?
And so I still like the band. I just didn't like that CD. I was like, no.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We kind of talked about this. So like, what's Bang about? Because like when you kind of sing along with it, it's like upbeat and catchy. But then I was kind of noticing like it feels kind of weird like singing it as a happy song because it seems like it's not a good song, like a happy song.
Yeah. So first of all, Colin wrote that song, but I do know like
Yeah.
that was based on actual incident. So I was like, bang, 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 shooting it up. Kids are having a party, right? What happened was, this is a block over from where we used to rehearse. We used to rehearse in this part of town that now is like super gentrified, but back then it was not gentrified. And, like a block over, so there's different houses in this neighborhood that we had buddies that lived in and friends or whatever. Rent was cheap back then. So a lot of people would just like these big old 150-year-old houses people live in. And some friends a block over were having this big party. And these dudes came over there like in a gang and they like brought guns and they robbed everyone in the party. It was a huge, huge bummer. It was not cool. Like people, yeah, it was a really, really ugly thing, Thank God no one got shot. But people were traumatized and lost their money and wallets and but that's the story. Again, it's like, yeah, it's a fun song, but it's the basis of it is a true bummer story.
Because I didn't really catch it at first, and then I would sing along. I was like, I don't know, it felt weird.
Yeah.
And like Mr. Smiley, dude, is that like based on a real?
Nah, that's
okay.
Again, Colin wrote that one, but no, that's pure fiction.
Okay, I was wondering if that was like real. And like for that video, I don't remember. Is that like an official video? Because I thought one time someone said it was a fan video.
It is now. It was totally like a fan video. It totally like these fans just like put it together. But like, cool. we talk on, and they talk to us about it, and it's like it's so great. We've done a video, cool. It's so cool.
I like it better now that I know it's not like a real. It didn't really happen.
Yeah, as far as I know, no one murdered a family about
okay, that's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, is there like a song or songs that like you thought people would like really like and then they weren't really into them? Like you were surprised they didn't like them?
Yeah. There's some tons. I'm trying to think, I have to like yeah, I mean it's tough because like I think like we have a kind of a bad track record. Like I'm trying to think if I look at my records somewhere here, like I could go through and probably pick some. Shoot, I don't know where I had a bunch of CDs, but like every record has songs like that. I mean, that's the total story of our career. I feel like if you look at like I'm trying to think like I'm like I think was it like what the like in Black and White, like what the first song on that was. I think was it Send You Back or something. I should look it up on Spotify or something. But I mean, we have I feel like there's a lot of like records in like you still like when you like sequence a record, you always try to put like your best songs in like first or second. And we always do that and it never works out, I'm trying to think oh man, I'm sorry, I have a terrible memory here. I gotta like look it up on Spotify our records, but
I know some people though, they'll be like, this is going to be a hit, and then they write it. That's why I was wondering if you ever had that, like about one of them where you're like, this song is like the best one I ever wrote or something.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. Let me give me Yeah. Oh, well, even yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess like hit me. I thought would be a bigger hit than it
I've heard
was.
that I've heard that at a baseball game
Oh,
before.
really?
Yeah, and I was
Oh,
like, I was excited. I was like, that's cool.
well, look at it. It's got like 1 million plays on Spotify, so I didn't do too bad. I'm trying to think. Oh, what was the one? There's just like, let me get. It's a yellow number 5. Um, and hold on. That was what? Yeah, not enough. On yellow number 5, the first song. Like, we thought that was a hit, man. I don't know. We totally thought it was a hit. Like, but like we like it, we still play it. But that's kind of a perfect example. Like, why didn't people like that song? I thought it was a great song, but and it's tough. Like In Black and White is one of those records that like not that we thought would do better than it was. I mean, that was a hard one because I still think it's our best record. It's
I like
probably
that a lot.
it's our most critically acclaimed record.
Yeah.
And people still like we get like great response from it. Like people are always, I have so many people say like, oh, that's such an underrated record, such a great record. But like we put it out and it didn't like it didn't really get much mainstream press at all. Like it just kind of like didn't really boost our career at all. It felt like, when we put it out, it's just like we put like a lot of work into that record. We went to record it at a great studio. We like Hopeless actually pushed it pretty hard, and we did videos for it, and it really didn't take us up to the next level that we thought it would. And so that's a really hard thing as a band. I still think looking back, it was a great record. I still don't know why it didn't take us to the next level, but I don't know, man. It's one of those things about being a band. Like it happens all the time. I think of like so many great bands that never got recognition. They never got mass popularity. And I don't know why. I have no idea why, it's a huge mystery, but
I like Black and White. It's really
yeah, I think it's a great record. But it just didn't really take us above that, like the level that we're at playing 200, 300 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it didn't get us like less than Jake status. You know what I mean? It didn't really give us that extra boost that I thought it would. But I mean, over time, like it's been like, I don't know, 15 years or something since it came out. I mean, over time, I think more and more people like it over time. And it's like, On and On is probably consistently one of our top 5 songs that get played on Spotify and stuff like that. So, I mean, it builds over time, and it's cool that a ska record that didn't come out in the 90s have that kind of build to it and that people like it. So, I mean, I kind of feel sorry for bands because it's really tough if you were like a big band in the 90s, big ska band, to get people to listen to anything that wasn't recorded in the 90s, and if you can do that, that's a good thing for a ska band, that's the challenge.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems kind of now like it's kind of coming back. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Totally.
Is there like an opposite one? Like where you're like, I don't really like this song, and then like it caught on. Or if it's
yeah, good question. Yeah, I mean, there's a few. I'm trying to think. Like, yeah. Hold on, I gotta pull up our. Like, I want to like, especially like I'm trying to think. Evildoers. Yeah. It's like not too many really. Like probably like Big Day Multitude, like was our first real big CD that we put out. And there were songs on that were just kind of silly, and like it was kind of a weird period in the band where like we had a different lineup. We had people in the band that were kind of like less punk rock, and it kind of had less of a punk rock feel. It was kind of like our least serious record. So I mean, some of that just seems like a little bit, kind of immature or whatever, but I still don't mind. I mean, most of the really bad songs on it, people don't ask for anyway. So and I like Mr. Smiley. I think it's a great song. I love it. So, I mean, Skank by Numbers people love that song, and sometimes I think we get tired of playing with it because it's such a cookie cutter. Like it's not like a really interesting song from a songwriting perspective, it's not like it's just a real basic like whatever, but people love that song, and and a song like Skank by Numbers, um just the fact that it makes people happy makes it fun to play. So I mean there aren't too many songs that like I'm like, oh god, I hate this song, but we have to play because people want it. It doesn't go that far at all. So yeah.
Always kind of like Average Guy too.
Oh yeah, that's fun too. I mean, it's a fun record.
Don't kill me.
Yeah.
Do you have time for like a few more?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Let's see. Is there anything new that you'd like to try, or like something you haven't accomplished yet?
Like in music or
Anything.
in life? In life, I've decided to take scuba lessons. That's my new challenge. I'm gonna learn how to scuba dive. So I just started yesterday. There's an academic portion you have to start off with doing. I just started yesterday. So yeah.
You're very busy.
Yeah, well, I try to keep busy.
I quit my job to do comedy like right before the pandemic, and it was going well, and then the pandemic happened, and now I'm not going back. I'm just gonna keep hoping one day it goes by. But yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. I mean, that's got to be like, I think that'd be fun to do. It's got to be a rush, just performing, and it's do you perform often or?
Well, I was doing decently before the pandemic. Now, I mean, I did some like in the summer, but like right now with all how it's spiked again, I've just been doing like online stuff.
Yeah.
I'm hoping like this spring and summer, maybe it'll be better again.
I think so. Like, I mean, the whole like Omicron wave is starting to like go down now. And like I said, we have our first show, our next show is March 25th or something. So I think by then it'll be kind of back to normal. So yeah, go book some comedy gigs now for spring.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Let's see. I have like too many questions. Let's see. Would you do anything differently if you could go back in time?
Like it's in like as far as the band goes?
How about in band and in life?
In life?
Whichever.
Yeah, I would have bought more real estate. Maybe I would have worked harder on like doing a record label, because that's kind of like one of my regrets. But as far as the band goes, I think there aren't too many things we do that differently. I like, I'll tell you, I kind of question whether we should have ever signed to a record label. That was kind of a regret, or just, I think we should have just self-released stuff. But it's hard to say, what would have happened. But so I think, and I also wonder like if we would have been better working harder to find a manager. Like I've done most of the management for the band over the years, and it's a lot of hard work, and I've been pretty good at it. But I think there would have been some benefits at the right time to have a manager. And there was a point where we were kind of talking to a couple of people, and they were kind of talking to us, but like neither of us popped the question. You know what I mean? It was kind of funny. We were both like, a couple different managers were just like, we're definitely interested. I think if I would have said like, hey, will you manage us? I think they would have said yes. You know what I mean? But just never did. We had a couple managers that approached us, and I'm kind of glad we didn't work with either one of them, because like, one was a guy that was managing the sentence for a little bit, and I think he was just like into it for like a second and then moving on to the next thing. Another guy that was managing the suicide machines for a little bit expressed interest, but he was very upfront about the fact that we had a small window to be successful before ska died out. And we're just like, we want someone that's got more of a long-term career guy. So I don't know, that's like kind of like, but to be honest, there's a lot of decisions in the band that I regret, but we've made more good decisions than bad decisions. So I can't really complain,
Yeah. I know too. You used to kind of, because like near Richmond, you used to come kind of think like, was it the later 90s, early 2000s, and then like you didn't ever like come again for a while. Are there any plans to ever kind of come back to like the Richmond area, or like I know you're at Virginia Beach, but
Yeah, Richmond. Honestly, probably not. And the reason why is just because we don't have as much time on the road as we used to. Like back in the 90s, we'd do 200 dates a year. And now we do like, if it wasn't for COVID, average like maybe 50 dates a year, right? And so we have to really pick and choose where we want to go. So we try to hit the West Coast once a year. We try to hit the East Coast once a year. Theoretically, we'd like to hit Florida and Texas once a year, but or at least every other year. For like Richmond, so if we go to the East Coast, we really like to focus on the big cities, and so you got to drive to DC or Baltimore. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I saw you in Florida and like California a lot.
Yeah. We definitely try to play like California like once a year, and it's like one of those things. It's like we try to play the places where there's the most ska fans.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, I mean, I feel bad because like if you're in Montana, you're gonna have to get an airline ticket to go see Mustard Blog, because it's just like Montana's really far away. And like my cousin lives in Missoula, and he's like, you should go play Missoula. We have a great venue here. I'll set up the show for you. And like, I'm like, dude, it's like so far away from everything, Wow. So I mean, we do a lot of like fly-in gigs. We'll like fly into the West Coast, do 10 dates, fly back, fly to Texas, do 3 days, fly back. So we don't, we're all like, like jobs or wives or kids or all three. And so it's, got to be real selective about where we play and try to get the most bang for the buck.
Okay. Also, are there any TV shows or movies that you got into like during the pandemic?
I'm trying to think what I was watching. I mean, I watched Tiger King like everyone else. Yeah, I'm trying to think what was really good. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything really mind-blowing that was like really just really great. I'm trying to think what I even just recently watched. Yeah, I try not to watch anything stressful because then like I have a hard time, like it adds to my stress. I'm the type of person that if I watch a stressful show, it like affects me. Like I wake up the next day stressed out. Like I just tried watching Ozark. I watched like 2 episodes of Ozark, and I'd watched that earlier in the pandemic, and I stopped watching it. And then I started watching it again. I'm like, I woke up the next day. I'm like, like it stresses me out. Like I think I'm in that. I internalize it too much, so like it kind of limits what I actually can watch.
Do you have any advice for anyone like wanting to try music or just in general, I guess? Yeah,
I mean, do it. If you want to try music, do it and play music you love and find some good friends to do it with, and it's, if you can get to the point where you can travel. I mean, it's like the best way, such a unique way to travel, and see the world. It's been really amazing. Meet all sorts of great people.
Is there anything else that you want to add?
Just go support a ska band. Go see a ska band.
Okay. Do you have anything to like promote or?
Not really, other than like go to our website or Facebook, go check out where we're playing and come see us when we come to your town, and go support other ska bands, because it's one of those things that if you like to see ska band A, then you should go see ska band B, because if ska band B comes to the town and no one shows up, then ska band A is not going to go either. So keep that in mind, people. And really, musicians have been struggling really hard the last couple months, and the whole music industry or a couple years, the whole music industry is struggling. So when things get going, and if you feel comfortable going to your show, please do.
Yes, and where can people like check you and Mustard Plug out?
So yeah, mustardplug.com, we have our website, and then we do Instagram and Facebook are probably much the 2 socials we really focus on.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking time.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, thanks. It was fun. I'm glad to be
be a real rat bastard. I'm proud to wear my scar up on my sleeve. I'll probably be a real rat bastard until the day that death is my reprieve. So love me as I wallow downward, smile upon me as I show the avenue, walk beside me as I sing my praises.